Hi everyone, welcome to CyberClaw. In this video I am going to explain what is routing, what are the types of the routing, what are the things we need to do the routers. Okay, first we'll start about the routing. So what is routing? Routing is the process of forwarding packet from one network to other network by selecting the best path from the routing table. What is routing? Routing is the process of forwarding the packet from one network to other network by selecting the best path or shortest path from the route table. A route table, what is route table? Route table contains the best route for reach the destination network. Route table contains the best route for the to reach the destination network. Routers use the routing table to decide where to send the packet. Here I take an example. I have a multiple routers are there. Okay, I'm going to take one router one by one. I have one router is there. Multiple routers are there. Okay. So then what we do, this is the router 1, this is the R1, this is the R2, this is the R3, this is the R4, this is the R5 and this is the R6. These are the routers are there. They are connected with the WAN interface. Routers are connected with the WAN interface. Okay, WAN interface. So here always a router represent that router to router will be connected to the WAN interface. It is also known as serial interface. It is like it is in the in Z symbol. The Z, you know, Z. This is the WAN connection. If you see there, if you take this is the source and this is the destination, this source and destination. So then how the packets are reached from this one R1 to R2, then this is the destination. If you choose this R3 as destination, there is multiple paths are there. From here there is one path, from here there is one path, from here there is one path, and here from this path, and this one having a two from here to here and here. So this is the longest path. This is the longest path. This is the longest path. Okay. Compared to this one, this one and this one, this is the shortest path. Okay. So router chooses the shortest path or best path. Okay. So chooses the shortest path or best path to reach packet from one network to other network. This is one network. This is another network. If you see this one having only this one, this is it may be having a shorter distance. Okay. Always router chooses the shortest path to send the packet from one router to one network to other network. Then how will you choose the shortest path? A router having a routing table is there. By using the routing protocols, by running the routing protocols, it will create a routing table. Create the routing table. This routing table contains the all paths of the router. In this one, choose it will be the shortest. Which one is the less distance from reaching to the destination? That is known as the routing. That is known as the routing. Understood? Understood? Now, what are the types of the routing? There are three types of routing. One is the static routing, second with the default routing, and third one is the default dynamic routing. Okay. Three types of routing are there. One is the static routing, and second with default routing, and third one is the dynamic routing. So we're going to learn about the static routing today. We're going to learn about how the static routing run today. Okay. So what is static routing? Static routing, this route will be configured by the administrator. Configured manually by the administrator. Okay. It is configured manually by the administrator. Mean that totally it will configure by the network administrator only. Here router don't take anything. Like even if you take a dynamic routing, the router will find out the best path. Here the network administrator will give the best path. That is known as the static routing. For configuring the static routing, we need a destination network address. We need a what? Destination network address. We need destination network address. We need a destination network address. Understood? Understood? So here, because it is a secure and fast, because it does not run any algorithm, when you take the dynamic routing, so Cisco will know the Cisco routers will know any router will know the route by running the algorithms, or by running the routing algorithms, it will find out the best path. The best thing about the static routing is they don't run any algorithm. Purely it will run the configuration done by the administrator only. Administrator only. So mean that it is very secure because we are configuring, and very fast because we don't need to run the algorithms. If you run the algorithm, Cisco router will run the algorithm. When Cisco router runs algorithm, it may take time to populate the best route. Whereas here we are directly giving the best route. Then it takes very less time and this secure and fast. So this one is best for the small network. Like suppose you have 10 to 15 routers are there, then a static router is the best one. Okay, static router is the best one. Understood? Yeah. So what is my administrative distance for the static route is 1. For administrative distance is the static route is 1. For directly connected interfaces, mean that when the router to back connected, then what is the administrative distance? 0 for the administrative distance. Whereas static route administrative distance is 1. What does mean the administrative distance is equal to? So here the trustworthiness of the routing information means how much the router having how much route is how much trustful. If the lowest value is the most preferred or most trustful. If the highest value is there, the highest value is there, less preferred and less trustful. This administrative distance start from 0 to 255. So when directly connected interfaces having a 0, whereas static route, it is the administrative distance is 1. Okay. Here, what are the disadvantage of the static route is, mean that when you configure the router here, see this, when you are doing the configuration of the router, here there is multiple routers are there. The manually network administrator will configure all this thing. Who will configure? Network administrator will configure. Understood? When you add a new router here, we need to change the entire configuration. Mean that it is not scalable. When the dynamic routing is there, when you add the new router, we need to do configuration of the new routers only. We don't need to do the configuration of the other routers. Understood? Whereas static router, whenever you add a new routers, we need to do the configuration, the whole configuration, mean to change the whole configuration in the static route. Another thing in this static route, when the routers are more, like 10, 15 or more, then we need to all the routes. In routing table, it is difficult to write down the routing table manually. Okay, understood? So this static route is not preferred for the when having a more like there is what? There is having a huge number of routers. This is preferred for the less number of routers. Understood? Whereas in default routing, so this types of routing, default routing, if you take the default routing, default route is also a type of a static route. It is also a type of a static route. This is one network here, we have one router and they are connected with each other. Understood? This is one network, there is another network. This is one network and this is another network. Got it? This is one network and this is having another network. So when you do what is my default routing? Default route is known as when the destination is not known, mean that this destination is internet. From here, the destination is internet. So in internet, we don't know which is the IP address. We don't know which IP address is in the internet. When I want to send a packet to the destination, when the destination is unknown, you're going to use for the default route. Understood? Mean that it is known as the default route is donated like it will 0.0.0.0, mean that send packet to the all, send packet to the all. Okay, that is known as the default route. So default route is also known as the, what is the default route? So default route is also known as static route, but generally this static default route generally used for the, when the destination is unknown, then only go for the default route. When the destination is there connected to the internet, we don't know the IP address of which IP address is there, then we'll send the packet from source destination using the default route. Understood? Then next is the dynamic routing. What is the dynamic routing? Same thing here. What is the dynamic routing? Here in the dynamic routing, the static routing, default routing, when the less number of routers, so the route is very less, then only we can go for the static and default route. When the dynamic routing is having huge number of routers, then I do configuration instead of doing configuration manual, we will going to write down a routing algorithm. That is routing algorithm inbuilt inside the Cisco router. When you run the algorithm, routing protocol, when you configure routing protocol, router will automatically find the route. We don't need to find the route. In static routing, default routing, we need to add the route. Whereas here, in the default dynamic routing, we don't need to add the route. The routing protocol, nothing but routing protocol contains the algorithm, which will automatically run the algorithm, and it will automatically run the algorithm to find out the best route. Understood? That is called dynamic routing. When huge number of routers are like 200, 300,000 routers are there, everyone will go for the dynamic routing, because we don't need to configure the router, each and every router. Everything will be a routing configuration, and the routing protocols will run. The Cisco router itself find out the best route. Cisco router find out the best route. You got it? Cisco router find out the best route. We don't need to find out the route. In the Cisco static route and default route, we need to find out the best route. Here, when you use the dynamic routing protocol, when huge number of routers are there, it is very difficult to find out the route for the huge number of routers. The router, Cisco router itself, by running the Cisco routing algorithm, it find out the best route. What are the dynamic routing? Example of the dynamic routing protocol are, one is the RAP, second one is the EAGRP, and IG, and the third one is OSPF and BGP. Okay, BGP. So this routing information protocol, exterior enhanced interior grid protocol, OSPF and BGP. These are the called as routing protocols. By using these routing protocols, a router will find out the best route. You understood now? What is the difference between static route, dynamic route, and default route? What does mean routing? Routing is the process of forwarding packet from one network to other network. Find out the best path or shortest path. How will you find out the best path or shortest path? If it is a static route or a default route, the network administrator manually configure the route. Whereas in dynamic routing, the Cisco router will populate, or Cisco router will know the best route by running the routing algorithm. What are the example for RAP, EAGRP, and OSPF? These are the BGF for the routing protocols or dynamic routing protocols. Okay, so hope you understand this video, understand this concept. Then next class, we're going to configure the static route, default route, RAP route, and OSPF practicals. So please support me, and please subscribe my channel. I will just, if you don't support me, I am not able to upload the videos. Okay, please support me and please subscribe me. Thank you.